If you're listening to this, welcome to the VIP section. My name is Thomason. I can finally say you already know who this is because this is like my third video out. If you don't know who this is by now, like get to know. But my name is Thomason. And yeah, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Today I brought on IDK Young J, and he's like a super talented rapper. I discovered him like pretty much on accident. I want to say by myself, but I know that's not true. I discovered him through my Twitter mutuals. Um, but yeah, he's a super cool guy, and I just wanted to put you guys on. Like I did this for you, so you're welcome. But yeah, I just sat with him for like 30 minutes. This is like one of the shorter, not shorter, like my other videos have been short, but like I think like going forward, this is gonna be one of the like shorter videos and like episodes that I put out. So yeah, this was fun to do. It was fun to just like sit and like hear about him because I think his music is so deep. And personally I was curious about like the whys and the whos and then like the backstory behind the like creator like type of thing. And like I think you should be too because that is a cool guy. So um give his music a listen. Yeah. Okay, hi. It's good to talk to you. This is your chance to introduce yourself. I want you to do it and not, yeah.
Hi, I am Josh. I go by IDK Young J, and I am a rapper and aspiring producer based in Lake Charles, Louisiana.
Okay. Yeah, so I guess like my first question is obviously what made you want to start music and just like a lot of the stuff that led to you like you choosing rap as your, I guess, medium.
Oh yeah, from a young age, like music has kind of like always been a big thing for me. My earliest memory actually has to do with music. I was like, it's pretty fragmented because I was a toddler, but I remember my parents leaving me in the room and they come back in and I'm dancing to this one song, Ijoya by Weird MCs. So like, it was just a thing. And but yeah, like my whole life, music has just always surrounded me. I want to say I started looking at making it when I was in GS1, GS2 back in Nigeria. And I met this other guy. His name was also Josh. And he kind of took me under his wing and taught me how to like freestyle. And it just went off from there. You know, I remember my first summer vacation in like secondary school. I stayed with my godmother and their kids just kind of like introduced me to like hip hop and I started listening to more albums. I remember the first album I ever listened to was Oxymoron by Schoolboy Q, and I was just like, this is just amazing. Like, how did I not hear this my whole life? And from that point, you know, it was I my love for hip hop just kept growing, and it got me to where I am right now.
Yeah, okay. So I guess like off of that, I have a number of questions, but I guess first of all, in terms of like growing up in Nigeria, because you mentioned that a bit. So how was that? And I think the transition from growing up in Nigeria to doing rap like now in Louisiana, do you think that there's been any influence like on both sides, Nigeria versus Louisiana?
Oh yeah, for sure. My first song, technically, on my first song that ever came out was out on SoundCloud. Is this song called "Emotion" with my friend. Uh, he's like a Afro beats kind of artist, and we was just in the studio together. Like we paid for the studio time. We were like, you know, might as well just record it, and we made this song, and it was kind of like a blend between Afro beats and like the American style raps because I'd always been the American style rapper. That was kind of like my thing back in Nigeria, and coming down here, you know, it's less of a gimmick now because everybody's an American style rapper here in America. But it's still a bit of a shock to me in the sense that people down here don't really make the kind of hip hop that I make. And I really thought that like, you know, all American hip hop was kind of like homogenized, but not really because you have the different regions with their different styles and getting people to like, I play my music for people. They're like, oh damn, I thought you were gonna sound like NBA YoungBoy. I thought you were gonna sound like Kevin Gates, but nah, you sound like Joey Badass. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you know what, that is fair. And it can be a bit difficult because I don't meet a lot of people in my lane out here, but I feel like that's where like the internet comes into play, and I meet people that are on the same wavelength online, and it does kind of help me build a small. It has helped me build a small community with other artists that make similar types of music that I do, and at the same time, it has also helped me be more versatile because people out here are gonna be like, "Hey, you're gonna hop on my song," and I got to rap on a rage beat, or I got to rap on a NBA YoungBoy style beat. So it's definitely helped my growth as an artist.
Yeah, I think hip hop and like having very distinct like regional sounds, like especially in the South, like I think that's something that's really big
Oh
that
yeah,
really does differ from places. But at the same time, I think it's interesting that you brought that up because at least the way that I look at hip hop now, I think like it's a lot more homogenized. I don't know if that's a word now, but it's just like a lot more like
yeah,
diverse types of music that are becoming popular.
hmm
Like you have people that like don't really subscribe to a certain like regional sound, so to speak, that are like really
yeah,
popular.
yeah, yeah.
So I think there is room for more diversity in hip hop for sure.
Oh yeah,
And
definitely.
yeah, and so you also said about how you started making music when you were in JS1 or JS2, and what made you want to do that? Like, did you just feel like it was like a natural progression, or like, would you say there was like an instant, or like what?
Oh yeah, with as my like interest in hip hop started growing, and like I started becoming more self aware and like thinking about like myself and all of that. I started to remember like I used to have a younger brother who unfortunately passed away when he didn't even get to like the walking stage, to be honest. But I remember when he was a kid, the only thing that like would kind of get him to stop crying whenever he would start crying was play some hip hop music. I don't even remember how we discovered that, but that like as I started to become more lucid, it kind of stuck with me like okay, and I just kind of do it now. It first started as like a way to like honor him and like kind of carry that on, and I started to develop my own personal relationship with it, especially with all the you're in a boarding school in Nigeria, it's not much to do, so we would be like freestyle rap battling sometimes, and it was like a whole sport in itself, and it just we would kind of like form these groups, and I had this group of guys who had like big ideas, and they formed this little group, and I wasn't necessarily part of the group, but I was associated with them. We would like kind of come up with songs in our free time, and I just always knew like putting music out was going to be something I wanted to do. And right after graduation, I kind of made that a reality.
Yeah, I think Nigerian secondary schools are kind of like really notorious and like making artists out of like just bored kids. But yeah,
Yeah,
I think like going off of I'm really sorry to hear about your brother, but also like going off
thank
of
you.
like I think that like personal touch. I like got to know about you through Raise a Menace, like the 1.5. And I think like that was really cool to me just because like I felt like it was really personal, and that's the kind of like rap or hip hop that like I'm very like drawn to. So in that sense, I guess like knowing that you did have kind of like personal beginning into rap or hip hop does make sense. But I guess my question is, you have MRAM 1.5 and like the OG one, and so like what does that name mean to you? Like what is that relationship like to you?
Uh, to be completely honest with you, the first Mama Raised the Menace, it was it had a lot of forms when it first like started coming to fruition, and it started off as just like a bunch of songs that I was writing to some beats that I had managed to scrunch together, and I like to refer to like a lot of stuff in my music like it's a lot of like happy accidents, even down to my stage name, even though it's a bit less of a happy accident, but it's just a bunch of stuff that just kind of conveniently happens. And with the Mama Raised the Menace project title, I had like recorded all the songs, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna need the album cover. I'm walking around the house thinking, and the cover that is on the original Mama Raised the Menace is some portrait that was hanging on the walls of my house, and I was like, I gotta take a picture of this. This is gonna be tough. And me and my mom always had a close relationship, so I felt like it was another means of like also to honor her and kind of like put it out there. And with the title, it just came to mind. I just thought about it and I was like, okay, Mama Raised the Menace because I felt like it fit the vibe of the songs. And
Mm.
with the 1.5, I was just like I had always told myself that like Mama Raised the Menace could be like a kind of like series. So it just made sense for my EP that I was dropping to be Mama Raised the Menace 1.5.
Mm.
Sorry, my cat took down the curtain, so the lighting might be a bit different.
I was gonna say, so in terms of like the project or like the, I guess like kind of series, do you think that 1.5 builds off of one, like in any like specific ways that you're pointing out, or is it just more like the happy accident?
Honestly, yeah, because Mama Raised the Menace 1.5 kind of marks a difference in like obviously my skill level and the sound that I'm going for from the original Mama Raised the Menace. Because when Mama Raised the Menace 1, I'm still kind of finding my voice and I'm making different styles of rap. I think I have like a drill song on there. I got a couple like more trap type songs on there. But Mama's Menace is pretty focused on the, old school type of vibe. And I feel like I'm definitely a much better rapper than I was back then. And I guess I could use Mama Raised the Menace, that series, as kind of a marker of where I'm at in terms of the music.
Mm.
And who knows, Mama Raised the Menace 2 might be like an R&B soul type album, like you never know what's coming.
Yeah.
That's a joke. I'm not doing that. I can't do
Okay. Um, I was okay, so being a better rapper now, I think like with artists, like they like being your own harshest critic is definitely a thing. And I think you have the best vision of what you want to sound like and how you expect yourself to be progressing. So I usually let people I'd say that they've like gotten better, like their first album is their worst or whatnot. But then in terms of music or when you first started, did you find it hard to release music, like put it out? What was that starting out? Because I feel like with starting, it's always there's a lot of things to overcome mentally before you actually
that.
even
Yeah.
do it. And it's like, yeah.
Oh yeah. Definitely funny thing. More I'm probably a lot less eager to drop now because I'm so like particular about like what I want to put out
Mm.
nowadays. With my older stuff, you can hear like there's a bunch of like mixing issues or maybe a song sounds half finished and da da da. And I'm still pretty proud of like what I managed to put out back then because I recorded that whole album with my phone and my laptop. I didn't have no mic. I didn't have nothing else. So I can't even be mad. But at the same time, it's like now I'm definitely more like specific about what I'm trying to put out. But I'm always like, if something is done and I think it's done, I'm gonna put it out because I know that I'm gonna get sick of it if I keep listening to it by myself without putting
Mm.
it on streaming. I might as well like if I'm gonna keep replaying it, I might as well make money for myself and
Yeah.
listen to it on Apple Music. So that's
Would
definitely the
you call
thing with
yourself,
putting music out.
do you think you like gatekeep music? Because a lot of people that I know that make music like end up gatekeeping it for a really long time. Do you think you have like, do you have like a lot of stuff like backlog?
Uh, no, I'm the opposite of a gatekeeper. I'm a gate
Okay.
opener. Whatever, if I got something, I'm gonna put it. I'm gonna show y'all for sure.
Okay.
Anything that I've got that hasn't dropped is probably just not my song because
Okay.
like
Yeah.
I don't like to like keep stuff backed up because I'm always making something better and I'm
Mm.
always trying to make something better at least. And so if I make something now and it's done, as long as it's done, I'm gonna put it out. But if it's not done, maybe I might leave it unfinished. But I definitely
Mm.
don't gatekeep music from my fans. I don't. Why would I do that?
I think that's real. I respect that because yeah, I listen to a lot of artists who do end up gatekeeping stuff, and it's not great. Um, okay, switching gears, talking about like influence again. So you mentioned Schoolboy Q and like just like a bit of Afrobeats, like obviously living in Nigeria, like I feel like that's kind of inevitable. Like who or what would you say has kind of been like your greatest influence in, first of all, like even being an American rapper in Nigeria? Because I feel like that definitely like involves a lot of outside influence and all that.
Oh yeah, for sure. Definitely unrestricted access to the internet contributes to that. Um, but if in terms of artists, I will say like my biggest influences when I first started out, probably Tyler the Creator and Earl
Mm,
Sweatshirt from their Odd Future days, and just that kind of like rawness. And obviously, I was an edgy teenager, so I thought that was the best shit ever. And there was just a lack of a filter in the music, and I just always wanted to just rap and like have those kinds of raps that gets a reaction out of you.
mm,
And that was probably what I would say is my earliest influence. During the pandemic, I started discovering the more underground stuff at the time, like West Side Gun, Minnie the Butcher,
mm,
and I was just so enamored with all the like intricacies of making this beautiful music while talking about things that are not exactly very beautiful. And as I got more into it, I started to get more into like the specifics of the samples and the production part of it. And I was just like, I just want to make music like this.
mm,
And it would be remiss of me not to mention it, but there's this artist in the scene. His name is Clown Cat. He his music, and especially this one song Ramses with three other artists, Unruly and Mont Jargos and Morning Run, was definitely a big moment. Like finding that song was definitely a big moment for me because at that time I was on a hiatus because I was not very happy with the project I had dropped, in J We Trust, which is unfortunately my least favorite project that I've dropped. And I was kind of on a hiatus, considering just stopping the whole music thing and locking in with school. But I heard that song and I was like, okay, this is the kind of music that I want to make. I want to get into this, and then it was just a gateway for me to listen to different music in that vein and kind of like cultivate that style, and that resulted in by the skin of his teeth and Mama Raised Menace 1.5 and whatever else is coming in the near future.
okay. Yeah, I think it's really like it makes a lot of sense. You talking about how you listened to Tyler and Earl Sweatshirt like growing up, because I feel like that's a lot of the stuff that I listened to. Like Odd Future was definitely my shit like growing up. So yeah, I definitely do see some of that realness in some of your lyrics. But yeah, I was gonna ask what your favorite project was, but you talked about how In J We Trust is your least favorite. So
Yeah.
is there any reason why?
Well, the thing with NJ with Trust is it was really rushed, and I kind of had a bad
Mm,
habit of announcing things before they were done at the time. And I announced NJ We Trust long before it was done. And so the next thing I knew, the release date I had announced started creeping up on me. And I was just like, oh my God, I'm out. And I'm not, nowadays, I'm like, hey, I could just push it back. I'm not that famous. It's not going to affect anybody's life if I push back my album. But at the time, I was kind of trying to do the whole serious artist thing just in
mm,
appearances. And so I was like, okay, I got to drop it on this date. And because of that, I was at a point where, like, a week before the album was supposed to drop, I'm still waiting for mixes. I'm still recording songs. And the mixes were not as good as I would have liked, and the song structures were not as improved from the previous one that I would have liked. And some of the songs I look back at some of the songs, I'm like, I probably shouldn't have put this out. Uh,
mm,
but there's a couple moments on that project where I'm like, okay, this is really good. And I'm thinking of songs like Plain Jane and October, of course, and
yeah.
those two songs, and probably a couple other moments on there. Like I think the first verse of the intro was pretty good. and it's just like there was signs of growth there, but I definitely needed like that hiatus I took afterwards because it led to me kind of like focusing all the potential I had into like something that I was
Yeah.
really proud of in by the skin of his teeth.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I don't know. Personally, I feel like with music, like it gets kind of really serious sometimes, like in terms of like judging, just because it's still art, but people kind of take it really seriously in terms of like people's old music and just like the kind of like symbols that they have there. And I think artists aren't really given the grace to make mistakes sometimes, but I've
Oh
never
yeah,
like understood that. I don't know, like even now with like really big artists, they'll like go back to like their first album and be like, oh, it's I don't know. It's just it's always been kind of a pet peeve of mine. But yeah, I think that you definitely should give yourself grace. I listened to In J We Trust before this, and I thought it was good. I did think like there are some really good verses on there.
thank you.
So your lyrics, I guess, like lyrics, kind of like the message that you're trying to pass, because I know that like you talk about some personal stuff and like some
Oh yeah,
societal stuff, as well, just like kind of like general human issues that I guess like a lot of people can relate to. So,
yeah.
I guess what is your intended fan base? Like, who is like your target fan, or what do you want them to understand from you or to learn?
That's a great question. Honestly, I make music for anybody. I'm the kind of person that like growing up, I was the only child of a single parent, so I've never really been the kind of person to try to be like exclusatory with my music or exclusive with my music, like or with anything to be honest. Like I back in high school I befriended everybody. Here in college I befriend anybody. I'm not really like oh you don't really fit my aesthetic of friend blah blah blah. I'm friends with whoever's friends with me. So I'm just making music for anybody who will listen to my music and be like this shit hard. And I feel like that kind of allowing myself be open to like a more broad fan base and be accepting of whoever is identifying with the message because at the end of the day everybody's a person and I feel like some of the stuff I rap about it transcends any kinds of categories that we can think of. Everybody feels anxiety, everybody feels depressed, everybody has things that have happened in their life that they wish didn't happen. So I
Yeah.
try not to box myself in terms of my intended fan base. Whoever likes it.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's fair. And yeah, I know that you're in college right now. So what are you, I guess like what's your major? First question.
Oh, I'm a psych major. Big surprise.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely on brand.
On brand,
What
very much.
what do you think like in terms of after college? Do you is music something that like you're gonna be pursuing like more in terms like over I guess like a career in like psych?
That's a very interesting question because if I had my way, obviously the music is what I would log in and do. But sometimes life isn't like that, and I'm kind of prepared for that. But I'm chasing this degree. I'm gonna obviously hope to get a job so I can support myself and support whatever endeavors I want to pursue. If the music takes off in a way that will let me support myself off of that, then I'm gonna do what I do. But I feel like having this backup plan is definitely good for me, for sure.
Yeah, I think that's fair. There's like an influx of people who are doing music just to make money, right now, and I think that like you can definitely tell the difference when like people are doing it because like it's something that they're passionate about as opposed to like this is like it's this or nothing type of like I want to do this so I can be rich and famous like type of thing. And yeah, so like I mean, psych, music. What else is there? Like, what else do you do outside of that?
Uh, Outside of the psychology and music, not much if I'm being completely honest. But I am an avid-ish book reader whenever I get the chance. I'm really big on movies as well. I'm a pseudo cinephile a little bit. I don't want to. be a film bro or anything, but you know, I do enjoy like watching movies and
Mm,
reading books. I'm a big fan of art, like paintings and drawings and all of that. I used to run this archive page where like every Tuesday I would kind of like highlight an artist and some of their visual works, and it was a really cool thing. And I'm just, I just anything creative. I'm usually a fan of it. Even stuff I don't fully understand. I try to learn about it, and I'm a little into history as well. Not too much, but it's something that, like, if I see an interesting video about something from the past that I haven't heard of, I'm gonna watch it or I'm gonna learn about it. But that as well. And recently, I've been getting back into pro wrestling because I feel like pro
mm,
wrestling is at it's having one of the craziest renaissances right now.
mm,
And there's just so many, like, well, especially like because I was a kid, I thought wrestling was real. When I found out wrestling wasn't real, I was absolutely heartbroken, and I almost never watched wrestling again. But now that I'm older and I'm more mature, I kind of realize that, like, wrestling not being real doesn't really take away from the magic of it, and there's a lot of skill involved. And I've started kind of learning to appreciate that rather than thinking that, like, everything that's happening is real. So that's definitely helped me to get more of an appreciation of the sport. Yeah,
mm.
that's pretty much it.
Okay. What kind of books would you say you read? This is just like purely out of curiosity.
Um, uh, I'm really not somebody who likes to be super specific with stuff. So if you ask me what kind of something, I'm usually just like whatever. But I will say I'm a big fan of urban fantasy. And so, like, where you take fantasy elements and put them in a modern day, that's it's gonna get me every time. And when I'm not doing that, probably like period pieces, like with stuff.
Mm,
And my love for period pieces definitely reflects, and it's gonna reflect in this next project that I got. But yeah.
okay. Um, okay, yeah. So we already talked about like I guess a little bit of like future music and like you brought up your next project. So um and I know that like before this like you kind of like talked to me a little bit about that. Um
Mhm.
I don't know how much you want to talk about that, but I guess what can people expect from you going forward in like your next project?
Oh yeah. My next project. I can't say too much right now because I'm still, you know, putting everything together, and I want it to be like a whole thing. It's a really interesting concept that I'm doing, but you can definitely expect a lot more rawness and like openness. I feel like I have flirted with openness, and I've been really open on a couple of tracks so far in my career. But this is going to be the first time I'm kind of just bearing myself on a whole album, like all the way through. And that's just what the whole thing is about. And it's going to be about, my psyche and who I am as a person. And you can definitely expect that from this album. And then right after that, next couple projects I got lined up is just back to the fun shit, back to the bars. I got some,
Yeah.
I got some really cool projects lined up with Jordan and Lil Figurative and a couple of other really dope artists that I've met through the music who I think I mesh really well with.
Okay. Um Yeah, I guess like to be honest, that's kind of most of the questions that I had. Another thing
Mm.
that I want to do personally with the podcast, with the YouTube, is kind of like put people on stuff. Like, because personally, I like to read a lot of stuff and listen to new music and all of that. So I think
Oh yeah.
I would ask you, what artists would you recommend people listen to, or songs, or even books and movies?
Oh man. I have got so many recommendations. We might spend the rest of the time doing this. Okay, so I would say, man, I don't even know where to start. You can definitely find so much good music out there. Like, there's so much music that I've discovered in the past year that I had no inkling of an idea of, and I'm still discovering artists today. And I'm hearing it, and I'm like, how have I never heard of this before? I like to feel like I'm pretty tapped in, but I'm not as tapped in as some of these people that introduced me to some of these artists. If I were to shout out a couple, I'll definitely say like the artists I mentioned before, Clown Cat, Unruly, Matt Joggles, Morning Run. Those are really dope artists that are really like, I feel like those guys represent the future of the genre a lot. Then, you got a bunch of other people who I think also represent the future. We got Secret Scriptures, which is a collective based in Canada, bunch of dope rappers and dope producers as well. You have Artist War, another collective, and they're more spread out. I think they're from like different states, but they come together and they make some really dope music. Uh, of course, Jordan, Lil Figurative, PTY, who is the producer behind my next project. He produced every track. July 38, even like non traditional boom bap hip hop, artists like Mad Keys and ZTG, and it's just I'm mentioning people you like. They're gonna be like, who are they? Like you even mentioning, but
I mean, I
you
think
check
that's a
these
good
guys out, and you're like, these guys definitely need a bigger audience because there's some amazing music out here from people that have like 10 monthly listeners, and I'm like,
yeah,
damn,
I think
like
that's
how you
yeah.
know?
I think it's good to like tap in early, like be one of the like I'm very big on like
Oh
being like
yeah,
one of the OG fans. Like yeah.
oh yeah,
And also like books. I guess like more
oh yeah.
books are you reading right now or like have you just read and all
I
that?
feel like it would only be appropriate to suggest that people read Things Fall Apart and No
Mm,
Longer at Ease. Those two books, especially if you're going to be listening to
honestly,
IDK
yeah.
Young J.
I think also like if you're on my channel and like you haven't read those books, like I don't know what you're
I
doing
mean,
here.
like, yeah, like I feel like
Like
that is like
general, like
essential
yeah,
African reading for sure.
yeah,
But yeah, if you're gonna be listening to IDK Young J in the near future, you should definitely read those two books. Uh,
yeah.
I guess I would say like one of my favorite books ever is probably Lord of the Flies
Mm,
because I don't necessarily agree with the message it's passing along as much as I used to, but it's definitely an interesting like look at the way people viewed like humanity at the time,
yeah.
and it's just really well written.
Mm,
I would
okay.
say those three pretty solid book recommendations.
Yeah. Okay. Um, yeah, I think I'm done with my questions. So, do you have anything else that you want to say?
Oh, well, you know, free Palestine, free all oppressed people.
Yeah.
Sh- um, Shout out women. Shout out, everybody. Trans rights.
Oh my
That's my main thing. Hey,
God. Real.
because I'm
Word.
gonna always use every opportunity I can to talk about important shit. So
That's real.
know that if you're anybody, then I'm on your side. So that's
Real.
probably the most important message I want to
Yeah.
pass across.
And those are the type of artists that we should be supporting. Okay, so that was IDK Young J. Again, he's on everything, basically all streaming platforms. Do you still have some of like your old stuff on SoundCloud?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Okay.
You should go check out my
Yeah,
SoundCloud for
so
stuff that's
definitely
probably not going to be on streaming. So
okay. Yeah, so there is stuff like on streaming and then all that. So yeah, check them out and I guess tell your friend to tell a friend. I don't
thank you for
yeah,
having me.
yeah.
Definitely tell your friends.
I also want to say that you see this quality that I have now, like you see how I have my thing set up. But aside from that, yeah, so I'm finally out of New Zealand. Like I'm in Dubai in at home and I'm supposed to do a vlog. I was supposed to do a vlog of my whole travel because I've been here for like a week. I was supposed to do a vlog and I promised that I will. I I did like some days of the vlog. I didn't do the airport vlog because that was the whole mess and like all of that. But like I will do something. I will definitely do something and I'll definitely put it out there. Okay, so if you didn't believe I was in Dubai before, I hope I hope that counts as your proof. But I just wanted to say that as of today that I'm editing this video, I leave here in 4 days, and it appears that a vlog has not been done, and that's partly because 2 days ago my grandpa passed away, and it's just kind of sucked. Today is, I was gonna be like, today's, they really don't seem to be stopping right now. So I'm just gonna keep on going. But yeah, my grandpa passed, and this is day 3 after, I guess. No, if the first day is day 0, then this is day 2. But yeah, things just kind of became a mess after that, and like this is the first day that I haven't cried because I've been trying to stay busy and be like, okay, like I'm just gonna record this, edit this, and like stay busy, find something to do. So yeah, vlog has not really been top of my list since then and stuff, and even then just like moving into this place is part of what I helped to do. Editing this video and grieving and all that. I don't even know the point of why I recorded this. And even if I don't, I'm sorry. I will recap orally and insert clips here and there when I can or when relevant. But back to my setup. You see this quality, HD quality that I have going on. I've got my stuff together, like I'm locked in. And my microphone is working. Like, don't play. My microphone is working. I have, my setup ready. I'm home. I like have interviews. I have guests coming on the podcast. Like, guys, I'm locked in, and the VIP section is back. Like this I think is gonna be the first episode that is gonna go on YouTube, like on Spotify, like as a podcast. And so I'm really excited about that. Like, I don't know how my idea to be a podcaster turned into me making YouTube videos, but I don't know what to say. Like, stuff happens, I guess, but there is definitely a lot more stuff coming. But yeah, forgive me if this is not a perfect interview. This is my first ever time interviewing someone. Like, this is a learning curve. And one of the things that I did talk about with Josh is kind of like the learning curve, becoming an artist and giving artists grace. So give me some grace. Yeah, it's 12:30 a.m. and I'm probably just like talking too much out of like exhaustion. So I hope you've enjoyed this evening's show. Thank you for watching, and see you next time on the VIP section.